Joining us now, it's our annual visit. Of course, she is the head coach at Liberty, coming off another conference championship, another NCAA tournament appearance. Of course, an Olympian, national champion. She's done it all in the sport. You know her very well. I speak of Dot Richardson, back with our annual visit. How many years have we been doing this now? Five, six?
Wow. I think it's about 5 or 6.
Even though we've known each other a lot longer. Like I
Yes,
remember,
we have.
I remember you made a cameo on my UCF radio broadcast back in 2010 when UCF was in your tournament back then. That's how far back we go.
Oh my gosh. It seems like yesterday.
Yes. Well, you have not aged, and you've done very well for yourself.
Oh, I
Uh,
have aged a little bit.
let's talk a little bit about last year. A heck of a year last year, winning a first year in Conference USA. You win the regular season title, have a dramatic Conference USA tournament where you come out of the losers bracket to win that championship. You get to the Athens regional final. When you look back at 2024, what comes to your mind?
First is God is faithful. When we looked at the team, we had some experience, but we lost two key players on our team. And that affected us, both in the circle as well as offensively. And, it was basically getting their master's degree and, moving on. We didn't have a master's program for one of them. And it was just sad to see, but it was exciting. It truly was exciting to see the younger players step up. And it took a little while, as we started for the first couple of weeks or so. We just needed to, just keep teaching, keep coaching, keep supporting, and keep the faith. And next thing you know, we started to come together, as we started getting into the Conference USA season. And the beauty is they responded. When we won the regular season for our first time ever in Conference USA was, fantastic. And then the tournament, as you mentioned, we lost the first game, but we came back from the losers bracket to capture that and get the automatic bid to the regionals. And so proud of them, taking down Georgia, put them in the losers bracket. They came back and really beat us pretty solidly. And then how did we respond? We came back winning to the bottom of the seventh inning with 2 outs, tying run at second base. We were 1 out away from supers. I was super excited if we pulled that game off to make even more history for this program to get to supers. But the time's going to happen. We got a really strong team this year, so it's going to be fun to watch them.
You won a game at LSU, I remember too, at the end of the regular season to kind of help you there from a resume standpoint. I know it was disappointing how it ended so close to the supers, but I remember we spoke about a year ago at this time, and you were so young, especially in the circle. You were so young that there was more questions than you had before. I mean, you knew you liked the roster, but it was young. Just see the growth of that team as they grew that year. Just talk about that process, because now you're going to benefit this year, especially in the circle with all the experience you got coming back.
Yes, you were there at the UCF game and you witnessed what we were talking about.
Yes.
Trying to find the strike zone, hitting batters. Just the moment was too big for some of them. But it's one of those things. You got to take your licks at times because you know that it's all about not how strong you start, but how strong we finish. And when you look at the growth that happened last year, we've had, Yoder stepped up and Escobar in a big way. I always knew that Elena would be able to do that for us because when she was competing against us in the ASUN tournament, she stepped it up as well. And so I knew we had an arm with her and a competitor. And she's a nursing student, so she's got a lot on her plate academically, but also athletically. She delivered for us. She's looking as strong as ever. And Eric in the circle, they all have improved so much. And it's going to be great to see what they can deliver this year. And I think Yoder kind of summed it up a little bit. Caitlin Yoder, she was like, we're right there. We tasted it. And the reality is, if we had one more pitcher in the circle that could have given a different look when we needed it, we would have been to supers. So they felt it, they knew it, and they were young, and the future looks really bright.
Well, it sounds like the motivation's there too for the returners, especially being that close. That's probably have driven them all off season and getting ready for the season, hasn't it?
Oh, it has. It has in a big way. And I think you can always tell when the team expects a lot from themselves, but also has the passion and desire to achieve those goals. It's when they're putting in extra time on their own. Because every Division I program, all divisions, they have certain amount of allocated time the coaches can work with them. And I have one of the best coaching staffs in the nation, without a doubt. I mean, very accomplished coaches as players and now experienced coaching wise, being in regionals. I don't think there's any team in the country that really wants us to be in their region. So for us, we got to get there and we want to host a regional. So in order to do that, we've got the schedule and we just got to perform. And I think if they stay together, they definitely will. But my big point is that the team came together and a lot of them are still here playing with each other. They care about each other. The culture is awesome. They're putting in extra time and they've had really good instruction from us on the coaching staff. And you're seeing in the circle, Coach Fagan Graham, as well as Coach Kirby Nagel are both doing an exceptional job with the pitchers. And I think will be pleasantly surprised. And I think you'll really enjoy it with our competition together.
Well, let's expand on the pitching staff. You mentioned Escobar and Yoder, they'll lead the way, but you have other arms there. Is this maybe the deepest you've had maybe in a few years as far as experience and variety on your pitching staff?
Without a doubt. We have it on the right side and the left side, right? A freshman coming in, Danner, is looking really good. We'll see if she's ready to compete. But the pleasant surprise we have is that Paige Bachman, at 6'2", she's got the physique, she's athletic, just hasn't really been able to put it together in regards to in the circle, but she is looking great this year. Her senior year, I think she's looking behind to say, it's behind me now, I'm ready to move forward. And I really think she's going to have a big year. The other is you've got, Tyler Oob is looking really good. She's had a lot of injuries. She is a transfer from ULL, from Louisiana, and just was plagued with a lot of injuries while she was there and here. But she's got a lot of good movement right now. So that's looking pretty good. The other thing is we have another transfer from Virginia Tech who redshirted, Haley. And Haley is looking, Haley McManus, throws the ball hard. She's got to find the zone, though. So we'll see this year if she's able to put it together. Katie Love, we got some experience last year from her. She's probably the best all-around pitcher with movement and different pitches. But, for her, we got to see if she can deliver and, put it together. So I think we've mentioned all of them. Got quite a few.
That's it. I'm telling you, the years we've done this together, to talk about your team going before a season, this feels like the deepest. And you've had some deep, I remember 3-4 years ago, you had some deep arms, but from top to bottom, this is probably the deepest, I feel like. I mean, would you agree with that? Like, do you feel right now that, for example, Escobar, you may not have to lean on them as much as you've had, maybe other pitchers 1-2 punches in the past, especially early in the season.
I agree. And one thing that we've always talked about, to go deep through your conference and postseason, you have to have it in the circle. And we proved we have one last year, but I think she will be united by some of her, pitching staff teammates that are going to be able to pour it on and give her some relief as well. But you have to be able to have it in the circle and you have to be able to throw the ball hard and it's got to move. And we've gotten really, with our pitching coaches right now, they're getting these kids throwing with some zip, right? So it's going to be fun to see them if they can deliver in games, and it'll be pretty evident quickly this year.
Offensively, of course, you return Rachel back to lead the way there offensively. Just talk about her and her maturity there, as she'll be obviously been the face of your offense.
Yeah, Rachel Rube is one of the best in the nation, without a doubt. And I hope this year she gets that recognition that she deserves. Last year, they ranked her really high as one of the top outfielders in the nation. And offensively, she just is a competitor. I say it on defense as well. She's a center fielder and a pitcher originally when we recruited her, but she can play right field like no other. It's just amazing. If I do try and move her, to another position in the outfield, the other person struggles in right field. She just makes it. She is without a doubt one of the superstars in our game. Her goal is to be the best she can be. She, looks to play professional. I just think she's outstanding and she's proven it year after year.
That's pretty good. What do you have around her? I know, obviously, you mentioned a couple of them already, but you have four transfers coming in this year, six freshmen. Some of them obviously will contribute on the offense, but you do return a lot of offensive players. I know on the D1 softball full report, you felt you got maybe 12 hitters for 9 spots right now. Is that accurate?
Well, Eric, I'm telling you, I smiled when you said, who else do you have around her? KK Madre, I'm telling you, she probably has some of the most top 10 sports, center catches. Everyone's pretty much aware of what she's capable of doing. She needs to put it together offensively, and I think this could be her year. So excited about her. She'll be in center field. She's 2.5 to first, super fast, loves to compete. And then we have the Oregon State transfer, pleasantly pleased and excited to have her a part of the team, and that is in Paige Dorr. And that kid, I just love that kid. She is a competitor, a leader. She expects as much from herself as you see. She reminds me of a younger Rupi, both of them. So we have, Eric, and I don't say this lightly, we have one of the strongest outfields in the country, and I'd put them up against anyone. It's going to be fun to see them. They've been working together really well. The expectations are pretty high for them, but I know they have it just as high for themselves.
Have you feel like the success you've had has helped the recruiting? Do players now, they've seen the success, all the constant conference championships and various conferences that you've been to now, and then the NCAA tournament runs you've made. Have you sensed that from players that that is now you're getting your fruits of your labor now is paying off with the recruits?
I would agree, Eric. And I think one of the big things is that, we are the largest Christian university in the world. And we have the resources, we have the drive, we're rising athletically. A lot of people are taking notice of what we're doing and the achievements. People always want to be a part of those things. And through the years, as you know, I've been looking for those players who want to be the first, just like when I was at UCLA, to win the first NCAA championship, to bring our program to the first World Series. And people then, they're like, well, they want to be a part of that winning tradition, right? The commitment to excellence. And you have that as us as a university separates us because we do have the faith-based side of things, more of the conservative and biblical, worldviews, that we have, is why, I'm here and my staff is here and a lot of these players are here. And we've been able now to get some of the 5-star to come on campus that we weren't able to have in the past. Some of those that we do not get, it's really because of conference. And the question of where, the NCAA is leading people right now, the future is uncertain. So we used to say autonomy or Power 5. Now it's autonomy or Power 4. And will it be Power 3? Will it be Power 2? Will there be no autonomies at all? Will it be a tier level? We don't know. But we do know is we're going to trust the Lord. He's going to bring us the players he wants us to have. And we will do our best to help them become strong, godly women so they are prepared to face the future in a fallen world. And the sport of softball is our avenue to do it. And my saying is, let's not worship softball. Let softball be our worship back to the Lord. And to me, that's what it's all about. We're going to focus to be the best we can be so that people can look and see us honor the Lord on the field with the gifts he's given us and to do it the right way and impact these girls' lives more than just in their play on the softball diamond. That's important to us.
Schedule. I'm always fascinated and always intrigued to see your schedule come out because I know you've got some creativity there, scheduling wise, not to mention difficulty. We expect that, but creativity. You're going to start the year in Leesburg for a change. You got a midweek in Orlando against UCF. I assume you just wanted to see me. That's all. You wanted to read.
Absolutely.
You're going to play at the ESPN Clearwater tournament. I believe it's the second time the program's playing there.
What an honor to be invited for that.
That's going to be huge. I mean, you got Charlotte, Alabama, Missouri, Wichita State, and Auburn all scheduled to come to play them there in ESPN Clearwater. Let's first talk about that tournament and what does it mean to be invited back for the second time in that marquee tournament.
Well, I hope we become a regular at it because ESPN is looking at, just viewership and competition and all that. as the largest Christian university in the world. You know, it's just fun to see the following that we do have. It's awesome to be able to look and see, with over 130,000 online Liberty students, plus on campus we're, 17,000, if not getting close to 18,000. We are rising, we are growing, and I think that ESPN has recognized that. And in regards to conferences, a lot of people don't consider us a mid-major. We're more of a non-Power Five conference that should be or could be, if invited, to be in one of those conferences. And that's all about, what it is, all about being invited to it. But I can tell you that the competition that we're going to face is really what it's about. I've said it before. If you want to be the best in the nation, which we do, you have to prove it. And in order to prove it, you got to play against the best and you got to prove that you're better. And that's what it's about. Unfortunately, with our schedule, a lot of times it has to be in the beginning of the season, because if you watch how we get better, like playing LSU later in the year, getting those games under our belt, just like probably most teams, but that makes a difference if we had the option to be able to play them later. So what I did later in the schedule is we are playing Duke at Duke in a doubleheader. We'll be playing UNC. We got Virginia Tech home and home, right? Home and away. And then we also play UVA, who's been ranked pretty high with the performances they've had with Big 'em in the Circle and others. So those are some great midweeks that also will be able to show us how we're getting stronger.
How big is that to have that advantage to schedule quality on midweeks? Like yourself, Virginia Tech, Virginia's how you mentioned with the great year they've been having. You got the Carolina schools, and I mean you just get on a bus and get quality RPI games right there.
We're blessed to be in this region, right? That's why I always say the ACC is a perfect region for us. And all of the other schools agree that are in the ACC. But again, that's up to the commissioner and what they want to do and schools they want to include. But within 2 hours, I mean, we're right there playing some of the best softball in the nation. And we're very blessed to be able to be there. And the other teams that want to play us. They want to play us because our RPI is high. We're competitive. They want competitive games. And that's been a blessing, and God is faithful, as I said, for us to continue to get better every year. And we're, I always say talk is cheap, because in sport, it all has to come together. And it was just so awesome to see that happen year after year. And I pray that this is a year that the experience that we have and, just the team, the culture together, it just would be awesome to see us do what I know we're capable of doing.
Do the midweek games have helped you from making that run in the postseason? Because I mentioned those quality games you get midweeks. I mean, you've scheduled that over the year. That's been a vintage part of your scheduling. Like I remember years ago when you played Tennessee in a midweek, things like that. Has that helped you in conference championships and regionals? Start peaking there at that point when you want them to peak.
Yeah, without a doubt. In order to strengthen our schedule, we have to play those midweeks, but we really want to as well. We embrace them, the strong competition that we have. Once I think the biggest thing in the beginning, Eric, is I knew that I had to overcome the mindset of our players who are watching a lot of these teams in the past on TV when they're younger, and they have this awe about it, like, oh my gosh, and that's why every year that I can, even this year, I asked to play UCLA, right? Because UCLA, it's not just because I'm an alum there. It's pretty much they have established themselves as one of the top programs in the country. That's why we play Oklahoma, right? That's why we play all these teams. And eventually you could see it. You could see it happen where there wasn't this awe because they realized we can be awe about ourselves.
Sure.
Right? We've beaten, you name it. We've beaten Alabama and we've beaten UCLA and, we've beat LSU. I mean, we can go on, Georgia, we're Duke. I mean, we've beaten these teams in the past. And so now everyone realizes it's really about the game. It's not about your opponent. It's about the game within yourself and the team. If we play to our full potential, we're hard to beat.
Have you got maybe the opposite too, where maybe some of the schools that you reached out, hey, let's play, and then they're like, oh no, we're too scared. Wait a minute, you can beat us, right? You probably got a little bit of that
Yeah.
too.
Yes, we're now at that point, um, you know, where, okay, we'll play you once, but we don't want to play you twice.
You gotta love those gamesmanship there, man. That's unbelievable.
Well, when we were looking at 2026 schedule, I'd reached out and Tennessee would love to play us in a 3-game series, just like we did with LSU last year. And I was super excited about that. But our conference is expanding. And so now I don't have a bye weekend. So I hope we're going to be able to play them at least in a midweek. But boy, it'd been great to play a 3-game series, against Tennessee. So, we'll see. We'll see if we, where the future holds and where we end up being. But we love to compete against the best.
I'm curious now. You bring up an interesting point because you played LSU last year in a 3-game series up there at Tiger Park. Do you have a preference playing a 3-game series versus playing in a tournament?
I love a 3-game series against a competitive team, right? I mean, we went to an Alabama tournament. It was awesome because LSU was there as well. And the reason LSU was a part of it is because they weren't playing each other, that
Right.
year in conference. Um, and they still didn't play each other, but it was awesome to be a part of that tournament. So I think whenever you look at the top 15, top 20 programs, you want to be in it and you want to compete with those teams that are in it. And a lot of coaches, there's a balance between win-loss, right? Because you have to be at least a 500
Sure.
win-loss record ratio in order to go postseason. To be honest, I never really thought about that. I just want to play the game, right? And again, that 500 record is to be picked at large, right? So that was a big move. The other year we were picked at large, and that's one of the first times. I don't know, Joe would know whether that's happened in Liberty history before, but for us to be picked at large and to go to UCLA and play at UCLA's hosted regional and to beat them, to take them out of the regionals for the first time, and can't tell you how many decades probably, was a special moment. But you can't accomplish those things if you don't get the opportunity to be a part of those things potentially happening.
Right.
And so for us, I always think of who might we play. We might be in a Duke regional. It's happened before, right? We might be at UNC. We might be playing Alabama in regionals. We might be at Auburn. Usually Tennessee was where we'd go when we're in other conferences. So Conference USA is a little different. So anyway, it's just fun putting schedule together. That's one of the things that I enjoy doing. And my staff every year, they're getting used to it. But every year they'll be like, Coach, and UCF is right there as well, as and
Uh-huh.
playing. We have not performed well at UCF. And so I think this year, I'm looking forward to the opportunity for us to showcase our skills a little bit better than we have in the past. So let's see how we do.
Listen, I think a lot of teams that were in the bubble last year owe you a game based because you helped a lot of teams out when you came from behind to win that conference. Because I think you would have been in, even if you didn't win the automatic bid. But if you're from your state, you always want to first win the championship. Plus, you never want to leave it in the hands of the committee. So and you made it a moot point. You won the conference. But there were I don't know if you realize, but there were a lot of people in the bubble that were rooting for you to come back. I don't know if you
Oh,
realize that.
really?
Yeah,
Well,
a lot of
and
people were like texting me. He's like, "What's the Liberty score? Are they winning? Tell Don I got to win." From very
yeah,
bubble teams because their concern is if you don't win the automatic bid that you're probably taking their spot.
yeah. Well, it's great to be in consideration of that. And that's a testament to these players and to our staff and the support of our university. Eric, it's amazing. I mean, just you can see a view behind us. I mean, this is my office overlooks the stadium. We've got the completion of the addition. We have 7 indoor batting cages right now and can be used as pitching tunnels, of course. Just to be able to have the budget that we do, to be a part of the growth and the movement of what we're doing. That's what has always excited me, to be a part of the evolution of women in sport, right? To be a part of the evolution of our sport. And as you see that happening, Liberty has opted in to the NCAA and, the House settlement and all that stuff, and where the NCAA is wanting to go. So we've opted in. So we've got, the internal NIL going on. We have the increased scholarships going on. We, have, the max of 25 players now proceeding to the future. And our goal is, again, to keep rising, and hopefully we'll be appreciated and recognized by some of these autonomy conferences to be a part of that. And we're doing all I can, and so we just give it to the Lord, and it's going to be His timing. But we're going to be ready when the moment's there.
We're speaking with Liberty head coach Dot Richardson here on In the Circle on D1 Softball. You got a passion for Liberty. You got a passion, I know, for Olympic softball and USA softball. So I got to ask you about the news over the offseason where they announced that their plans are for the 2028 Olympics in Los Angeles is to have the softball competition in Oklahoma City. I've gotten mixed reviews, opinions from various Olympians, etc. Some like it because obviously the facilities of Oklahoma City is, top notch. That was the reason behind it. But there's others that don't like it because they don't feel they're going to be a part of the Olympic experience, which is being in the villages and everything like that. You, as somebody who's taken part in it, somebody that knows that West Coast very well, what is your reaction to those decisions?
Well, I've been a part of both experiences. In the 96 Olympics in Atlanta, we actually went for the opening ceremony and then back to Columbus. So we were not surrounded by other sports at all. We had our own place at the fort there. Cherished the moment, living the dream, wrote a book about it. Amazing. The first Olympic gold medal for our sport in history. Loved it. Then we go to Australia. And in Australia, in Sydney, in the 2000 games, we were in the village. To be honest, as a player, you really don't have a lot of time to watch other sports. Your focus is not about other sports. It's not really about socializing. The socializing usually happens after a sport is completed, right? The marathon's done. You know what I mean? When the sport's done, then you're in the village around people. So for me, I just think if you are going to have it in Oklahoma City, the players need to be at the opening ceremony. They need to be at the opening ceremony. That is just an amazing.
Well, I think, and that's at the heart of the some of the concerns, because with the way the schedules are with softball in the Olympics, is sometimes they start them before even the ceremony.
Well, we're a part of after, the ceremony, and I think there's a way they can do it.
Okay.
That would be my experience. If you're going to move events outward, elsewhere, I think there's a lot of advantage to being in Oklahoma City. The University of Oklahoma, Oklahoma State has really built a big fan base just for the local areas, right? Local fans. It's centralized where everyone's used to going there for the College World Series. I think that they're going to need more seating. They have expanded. And I think in the outfield, they're going to have to get even more, which is what they did when we played on a baseball field in Columbus. Someone had talked about using a baseball field in LA. If they're able to use Angel Stadium, or Dodger Stadium or something like that, I think that would make sense too. Traffic's going to be unbelievable, obviously.
Yeah, that's an understatement.
That's always a factor. If I was an Olympian in the 2028, games, and I'm playing in Oklahoma City, I would feel just as much an Olympian. You want to play in front of fans. You want to have TV coverage. You want to bring the recognition to the gifts God's given to these amazing athletes that compete in our game, in our sport. And if that's a promise, if that's going to be delivered in Oklahoma City, I think it'd be fantastic. But I would definitely be a component of they need to be at the opening ceremonies, give a couple days before you start the competition. And that extra expense would be worth it for the experience of them. But if they can find a big enough, I don't know, the softball field, even collegiately in the area that is big enough, it would have to be a baseball stadium.
Yeah, it would have to be. I don't think that's why they're moving. I mean, some people have brought up Dodger Stadium, Angels here, but the problem is, that's a major league ballpark. You would have to have, Major League Baseball allow that because there'll be an MLB season going on at that point in theory. So there's a lot of logistics. Now, you bring up an interesting point. When the softball tournaments have been started before the ceremonies, that's because they had to share the stadium with baseball. So that's why they had to start early. But if you're going to be playing in Oklahoma City, you're not sharing that with baseball. So in theory, that should bring some flexibility to the schedule that, to your point, hey, let them go to the ceremony and don't start the tournament until afterwards, and then you can make that work.
Yeah, that's what I would recommend. I do think Oklahoma City, that stadium, it'll be packed wherever it's at. But I also do know they got a lot of softball fans in that area as well, with just all the great stuff I think collegiate ball has been doing. And now, professionally, there's a pro team that's in that area as well. But everyone's used to going to Oklahoma City, and there's a tremendous backing from the city itself, right? They've invested a lot of money. And I think that they would be more than excited to be a part of that economic impact the event would bring. But if LA can deliver, it'd be great too.
We'll see what they figure out. And then, of course, 2032 is Brisbane, Australia. You've been doing Olympics in Australia. You would assume no problems there from a softball standpoint.
Oh, not at all. Yeah, Australia was amazing. I've been there 4 times now, and just being in the Olympic Games, that's what we need. But we need to be in the games consistently
Yes.
instead of fighting for your life every single time, wondering who's going to host it. Are we going to be picked up? It's one of those things that the value of our sport needs to be recognized. And I think internationally, it's there. We just need to make it more solidified to be on the official program every 4 years.
Well, you're an example of that. A lot of people know you more for the Olympics than they did for your collegiate career. Like that,
Oh,
you became a household name in the Olympics in '96. I'll never forget. You were interviewed after you won the gold. You represented the team. You were around the team, but you were interviewed by Bob Costas, which was like a big deal for people that don't know that. Like Olympic coverage, if you're interviewed by the host of the Olympics, in that case Bob Costas, that's like a big deal. They don't just there are so many athletes they could pick from, and they picked you to interview.
yeah, it was a big deal. And it was a lot of people don't realize that I was the only one that had the earpiece in.
Yes.
And so that's when everyone's like, oh, you took over the interview. But it was like I wanted my teammates to know what he was saying and help in the interview process, because we're in a team sport. We have individual moments, hitting the home run, but Lorberg had to be on base. And you know what I mean? Is like we had to have it defensively. And, Lisa is able to come in and, do the call. And I mean, it really took everyone to be a part of it. And that's the beauty about our game. Individual moments to excel. But when you do it for the team and the team rises above it all and is wearing the gold, nothing like it.
You know that anniversary is coming up, 30-year anniversary of that.
Mhm.
When I say that, does that blow your mind away that was 30 years ago?
Yes. I mean, I even look at coaching here at Liberty. I'm entering my 12th season.
That's right.
12, are you kidding me? And I'm thinking it just seems like I'm serious. It's like seems like it's been 4 or 5 years. And I think that's when you're doing what you love to do. And I'm just so blessed that the Lord's calling on my life has been to be able to be a part of what I'm doing now. And love being a physician, a surgeon, as you know, and became an executive of a hospital, and just to give it to the Lord, thinking I was getting into politics, and the door open with the largest Christian university in the world to be a part of that. I think about it. I mean, we had like a rec field on campus, on South Campus. We were in a double wide trailer that included everything, our offices and the kids' locker rooms and umpire room, and just God is faithful to where we are now, one of the top stadiums in the nation, a stadium that people, when they're building one, look at and try to emulate it. The greatest form of flattery, right, is imitation, right? To try and
Sure.
put that commitment to something that, you can always try to better and better. It's just great to be a part of it. And for me, I love just to keep moving, keep achieving, keep going, and keep impacting lives in hopefully positive ways. And this is an avenue the Lord has given me as a mission field, and I'm excited about it.
I'm still blown away. A dozen years? Holy mackerel. You're right. That has blown by fast. Because I remember,
Yeah.
because I remember when you made that decision, that was like a lot of people were shocked, just because, like you mentioned, you had so many things going on. I remember you had your own tournament. You mentioned all the stuff you were doing at the time. I think people were generally shocked that you would get into coaching and were wondering, ooh, I don't know if this is going to work or not. And you had some bumps on the road early on in those years. When you look back at that, does that seem What do you think of when you think of back to that? Because now nobody even questions that anymore. Now I think people would be shocked to know that people question, wait, you would go into coaching, but that was the case when you first decided to make that jump.
I'm telling you, it was all because of an answer to prayer. And there's no, God has me here for a reason. And I know every day it's really to, impact others, for him to let them know how special they are. And when something is that clear, I thought I'd be in politics. Trust me. That's run for mayor, county commissioner, U.S. Senate for the state of Florida. I thought that was it. But it's also the important thing is for people realizing it's not just about me. Like this decision was not just because I had desire to coach. The reality is I never really thought about it. I did fall in love with coaching when I got my master's degree at Adelphi University in Long Island, New York. But getting into medical school, that was my future. And so I think when people look at myself in this program, it's because the Lord has his hand on it. And it's without a doubt. I mean, it's a realization. And to start where we only won, 11 games my first year?
Yeah.
You always adopt a team by recruiting, right? But I inherited a team. And they're amazing, young, godly women. And to be a part of it and helping to teach them, help them become better. It was not about winning or losing for sure. And they all got better, but it wasn't good enough, right, for us to proceed and move farther. But the next year, I didn't know till my third year that we were the most improved team in the nation. So a lot of movement forward. And to get the stadium, we played 1 year in that previous field. So that's how much the university is committed into it. And they lived up to their word. And it's been just, like I said, rising ever since. And just blessed to be a part of it and hopefully be able to help other programs. And I see that. Look at Wichita State getting a new stadium. I can go on and on. Oklahoma finally getting their stadium.
Right.
I've still been pushing to try and get UCLA, to be able to maybe with this new move in conference, they're going to be able to get it. But the point is, how can we help each other? And how can we do it with healthy competition? And that's what people want to see. Let's do it on the field, right? And off the field, let's do it. Let's continue it on and off the field to do it right.
No doubt. And you've rewritten the record books in the history, as you say, with the great success you've had there at Liberty. And I guess my last question will be, as you get closer to the start of the season in Leesburg, what are a couple key questions you have in your mind about this group that you're looking forward to finding out that you've told me in the past you don't usually find out until that first week or two? Maybe it's a little rough, but you'll find some answers and then you'll work on that. What are a couple keys you're looking forward to finding out about this team that'll be key?
Well, we're excited to start in Leesburg with the spring games. Amazing organization, right? Working with all divisions of the game and giving opportunities to play in Central Florida. And we're going to be playing against Rutgers. We'll have 2 games against Rutgers, Louisville. Both those teams very strong. We'll play Radford, who's rebuilding, and Cleveland State. So it's going to be a good mix, right? And then UCF, great competition, then heading to ESPN. So this is what I want everyone to realize when you're watching Liberty. First of all, so much fun to watch. This year, what I'm praying for is different, is we have a lot more experience. When you look at Rupi, you got KK, even Dorr coming from, the Pac-12 for them in the outfield. But then we also got B-Rob, who led the NCAA and NJCAA, the JUCOs in home runs, career home runs. She'll be at first this year. We have Savannah Woodard back from an injury. We didn't have her last year at second. At shortstop between Jemiah, a sophomore who's gotten a lot better, to the experience of Watley, who's a member of the national team in Mexico, who could be an Olympian. She's available again, a Pac-12 experience from Oregon State. Then at third base, our solid player at third has got Rachel Crane. In the circle, we mentioned the pitchers, but catching, what a standout in Savannah Jessie. We call her Jesser. And the power through the lineup, the speed also, but just Eric, I remember only being able to put 1 or 2 names on the lineup when we go back in history for my career here coaching at Liberty. but now I can seriously go through an entire lineup and be pretty pleased. There's very few weaknesses. And again, talk is cheap, but it's going to be fun to watch. The experience is awesome, and it's going to be an impactful year. But this is the thing: they have to come together and want to play for each other. They in the beginning of any season, and you have to think about this as coaches. At the beginning of the year, everyone is wanting to in the fall prove themselves. But this game cannot be played self-centered. It can't. You have to have a servant heart. There has to be selflessness. So when we play at the spring games and we start, if everyone is more worried about how they perform or what their batting averages are, we're going to have problems. Any team would, right? But if their concern is, because this team is not a selfish team. They don't want to let their teammates down. But you cannot think in the negative. Say, I will lift this team up. I have put in the work. I'm ready to compete. Showtime, the lights are on. Let's go for it. And let's do it together. If that's the mindset that I always try and get them at, if they are able to do that right away out of the gate, it's going to be fun.
It's going to be a fun year. Once again, we get to 2025. We'll begin in Leesburg. And then, of course, trip to Orlando, little homecoming, and then, of course, Clearwater, ESPN, and then so much more. Dot Richardson joining us here on In the Circle and D1 Softball. I always enjoy our get-togethers, annual get-togethers here. Usually from a great setting, like right here where you're back the stadium there in your office. But thank you so much for always coming on and talking softball. Look forward to seeing you in February here in Florida, your home state. But in the meantime, happy holidays, and thanks for always talking to us here on In the Circle and D1 Softball.
I tell you, Eric, it's always a pleasure, and it's going to always be a pleasure to get back and play in Central Florida and just get the season going. Just so blessed. We all in the sport are blessed to have you and the energy you put in and the knowledge you bring and the insight. And I'm just excited that we're going to be back in my hometown as well. And UCF with Cindy, Coach Ball is just always excited to say, yes, let's compete again and again. So we're going to look forward to the challenges we have.